Hi, my name is Riley, and today we're going to talk about the 9 steps for planning an event, specifically at Fordham. Step number 1 is to make sure you're setting your goal. First, you want to identify what kind of event you want to have. So what's your goal for what you want to accomplish? You want to next look at what students in your club or who may attend your club event are interested in seeing, hearing, or participating in. As always, make sure that you set a SMART goal: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. And lastly, make sure you write out your goal. Only 3% of people write out their goal, but if you do, you're 97% more likely to achieve it. Let's go on to step 2. So step 2 is to gather ideas and decide on one. You want to make sure you use the resources of people around you, faculty, other students, professors, who can help you decide on what's the best way to hold your event and what kind of event you want to have. You can use different brainstorming techniques like the keep scratch method or the paper ball method to help you determine what's the best kind of event that your club can hold. In addition to that, you want to make sure that you're realistic about any restrictions you may have holding your event. Any finances, any location changes, anything that might come up that will put a restriction on what kind of event you want to put together. Eventually, you need to work together with your other club leaders on your e-board member, as well as the rest of your general board, to narrow down the ideas that you have and decide on the one that works best for you. On to step 3. Number 3 is successes in the details. You want to remember the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, and why when you're putting on your event, and making sure that you're addressing all of those as you put it together. In addition to that, be aware of any restrictions you may have and anything that will affect how your event is put on. Let's move on to step 4. Step 4, do not proceed without the required approvals. This is one of the most important steps of the 9 steps you're going to hear today. This is important because there's a lot of different people you need to check in with to make sure they're on the same page before you can go forward with hosting your event. First, you want to discuss with your e-board. Is everyone on your e-board okay? Have you gone up with the chain of command, and are all the details set in place? In addition to that, you want to make sure you talk to your advisor if they're helping with any of the planning of the event to make sure that you're set to go on that level. In addition, there may be other restrictions you want to get approval on. Where are you holding this? Do you have an event space booked? This is something that goes through OSI. If you're having food at the event, have you talked to the vendors who are putting the food out? In addition to that, you may be having public safety or some sort of security at your event that you want to make sure is checked off the box before the day of the event. Lastly, but most importantly, you need to make sure that you're following any COVID restrictions. You need approval to make sure that you've hit the maximum guidelines for the amount of people in a room, as well as any other restrictions that are in place because of the coronavirus. On to step 5. Step 5 is organize and publicize. This, again, is also a very important step, given that a lot of events now and in-person classes and meetings are happening online. You want to make sure when you're hosting an event that you are making sure all the details are lined up and very clear to who you're communicating that to. Are you using social media? What's your marketing plan? How soon are you going to promote the event to other people? You also want to be clear to use the 5 W's you established in previous steps on your marketing plan, so people know where to go, what the event's going to be about, and what they can expect to see. If you're having a Zoom event, make sure to include the Zoom link. Let's go on to step 6. Step 6 is have the activity. So something you want to remember when you're having your event is making sure that you keep in mind early is on time is late, and late is never acceptable. This is particularly important for day of the event, so if you need to set up, make sure that you're there early. But in addition, when you're booking event spaces, when you're talking to vendors that you may need to contract for food, or anything else that'll go through OSI, it's important to be early about your request because it always takes a couple days to make sure everything is approved. Back to day of the event. In addition to being early when you set up, make sure you're very clear on everyone's roles and responsibilities. Is someone responsible for pickup and cleanup duty? Is someone going to be responsible for welcoming guests as they come in? Is someone responsible for making sure people sign in and check university tickets? And maybe someone has to pass out the hand sanitizer. It's important you're clear with your e-board and other members of your general board what their roles are going to be day of. It reduces quite a bit of the stress and makes it easy for everybody to get involved and run a very efficient event. You always want to make sure any equipment you may be using is tested before, so a microphone, for example, or some sort of sound system. And most importantly, you want to make sure you have a good attitude day of. Let's go to step 7. Step 7 is evaluate. Evaluating is incredibly important because it helps you to identify whether or not you met the goal that you set earlier at the very beginning of the event. In addition to that, you want to make sure that everyone possible is participating in the event, in evaluating the event. the people who attended, the people on the e-board who planned the event, and maybe any other general board members, faculty, or staff who were involved in putting on the event. Evaluating the event is incredibly important because it helps you look back on what you did well and what you can improve on for next year. There's a number of different ways to evaluate. You could send out a Google form, you could pass out papers in person, maybe during a regular semester. But the most important thing is you want to set a record for how you did and also give the information so that next year's e-board, if they choose to host the event again, can improve on what you've already started. Let's move on to step 8. Step 8 is to thank everyone. You want to make sure you pay special attention to the people who really helped you go above and beyond in your event, be it students, faculty, particular people on their e-board, or anybody else. Thanking everyone's incredibly important because it establishes goodwill for any future events your club may want to put on, and it also acknowledges all the hard work that people put in to help you have a successful event. You have to remember, it wasn't just you that put on the event, it was a team effort, so make sure you acknowledge everyone on your team. Last but not least, let's go to step 9. Step 9 is to file everything. Filing everything is incredibly important because it helps you keep track of what went well and what can be improved on for next year and gives you a record of how you put together the event. You want to make sure you file everything from brainstorming ideas to planning notes to who you contacted and what order you contacted them. And most importantly, you want to make sure you file your evaluations so you can see what went well and what can be improved on for next year. So that's the 9 steps of putting together an event at Fordham. Please be sure to check below this video to find a list of any additional resources that were mentioned in this video that you may want clarification on. And good luck planning your events.